Joined by press reviewer Nicholas Rushworth. Hello,
Good morning, Lorna.
So we're going to start off today with that US troop withdrawal from Iraq that we mentioned in the news bulletin.
Indeed, and on the front page of the International Herald Tribune, we can see there US troops bowed at the ceremony their heads bowed at the ceremony at Baghdad airport, as we're hearing in the bulletin there, the news bulletin. Now, the paper on the front page is saying that after nearly 9 years, Iraq is still shattered and marred by violence and political dysfunction. Of course, lots of papers covering that this morning. I looked at a cartoon in The Independent that caught my eye, showing US President Barack Obama taking down the flag. That flag turns out to be George W. Bush, floating in the wind there. And if you look a bit closer, you can see that Obama and the soldiers are standing on a pile of skulls. The death toll, of course, over 4,480 for US troops in Iraq.
Okay, and you've also been looking at Twitter to see what comments were coming in there regarding this withdrawal.
Well, I saw this tweet from Democratic Congressman Dennis Kucinich, who says that as this war officially ends, it is important to remember how it began, and it began based on lies and falsehoods. Never again, he says.
Okay, well, we're going to move on now to Russia, another big story we've been covering today. News of that surprise UN resolution on Syria. A little bit too new for the printed newspapers, but The Guardian does have a piece pillorying Vladimir Putin, the Prime Minister of Russia.
Well, yes, the headline in The Guardian talks about Putin's comment that the protests, he sort of thinks that he thinks they were wearing condoms. It's a reference to the white ribbon scarves. Now, the paper reports that in a 4.5 television hour call-in to the nation on Thursday, Vladimir Putin started out trying to take credit for the spontaneous expression of discontent. Then he dismissed the white ribbons being used as protesters as being like a condom. And then he ended up his 4.5 hours with saying, well, it's all to be blamed on the West. And the reaction to that from internet-savvy Russian protesters was to put a mock-up of him online with a condom on his chest. I couldn't find that this morning, but if you look surf, maybe you can do that if you speak Russian well enough.
Yeah, we'll have to have a look, definitely. But what about the local press in Russia? What have they been saying about that?
The Moscow Times has this editorial saying this is back to Soviet times. The state Duma elections were the dirtiest ever. And it says that Putin's arguments that protests are part of a Western plan to weaken Russia are too similar to the crude conspiracy theories that dominated Soviet propaganda for 70 years. And what about this cartoon in the China Daily I saw? Not too keen, these Russians and Chinese, on democracy. There, the Chinese government mouthpiece is showing the US doing some Russian bear baiting. Uncle Sam beating Russia with ballot boxes there, Lorna.
Okay, well, we're going to move on now from bear bashing to Brit bashing, because that's, of course, long been a national sport here in France, just as the reverse has been in the UK. But here in France, they're having a field day at the moment about us Brits, aren't they?
Well, James Creedon in his Media Watch gave a lot of coverage a few hours ago to Charlie Hebdo's satirical weekly. The front page there, you can see a British couple, not very pretty. Lorna, do you recognise yourself there?
I'm going to say, I hope that's not you and me, Nicholas.
Well, that's fueling the fun in France. Basically, this current lapse in the Entente Cordiale comes down to Cameron's veto on the EU treaty. So now it's a free-for-all, and that front cover there is asking, well, who wants the English in Europe anyway? Now, the Daily Telegraph this morning is responding on its website, actually mentions the Charlie Hebdo piece specifically, but there you can see the headline in the Daily Telegraph: France declares a war of words on Britain. And that's all to do with the Bank of France governor, Christian Noyer, who said the French British economy is in a worse state than France's, and so was in a better position to have a AAA downgrade. Now, of course, in the spirit of 1,000 years of annoying the French, the Daily Telegraph cartoon has a response. It shows a lone Brit on the White Cliffs of Dover putting up a torch saying, hey, I've got a AAA battery. A reminder that the French have got that credit rating problem.
Absolutely lovely. Matt in the Daily Telegraph is always a treat. Thank you very much indeed, Nicholas Rushworth, for that look at today's international newspapers. Well, still to come here on Live from Paris, business news, and there is certainly no love lost between